This is Smithy.tv.
Reporting for Katie Chats here at Smithy TV in downtown Toronto with writer-director Annie Bradley. Tell me how you got into the business.
Well, I guess I'd probably have to say that I took the long route. I started off in the business as, believe it or not, a wardrobe stylist for rock bands. So I traveled all over the world. And I had worked in radio before that. I worked at the original CFNY. Then I realized it was sort of this circuitous route, but I ended up joining the Directors Guild as a PA and basically worked my way all the way up to a first AD. And I was a big first AD for a while. And then I decided that you sort of have to stop doing that if you want to become a director, unfortunately, in this continent only. So I did that about 10 years ago and pursued directing full-time.
Yeah. And how did your work at the Directors Lab and the Canadian Film Centre prepare you for being a director?
Well, I think the first step that I took about now it's almost I think it's almost 11 years ago now. I did a really amazing program called Women in the Director's Chair, which is run by Carol Whiteman, and she's this incredible champion of female directors in this country. They pick 8 women from across the country. You apply just like any other lab. And you go to the Banff Centre for the Arts, and you do a very intensive 21-day workshop. And you form lasting friendships, and it's a really remarkable program. You get to work with great actors from across the country, and all sorts of and crews from across the country, et cetera, come together. And I'm still friends with all of those girls. It's pretty amazing. And then a couple of years into my directing career, I signed up on a dare. From a writer friend of mine, Tina Cooper, and she said, I'm going to apply to the Writers Lab at the Canadian Film Centre. Why don't you apply to the Directors Lab and we can make movies together? And I said, oh, okay, that'd be great. So I did an application together, and I did get shortlisted, and I got chosen. And so Tina and I, at that year, which was a pretty amazing year, it was first day of the lab. And then at that time, they narrowed it down from the lab of 8 directors to 5 directors. Everybody pitches a project, and they picked 5 directors to move forward into the short dramatic film program. And I was one of the directors to be chosen, luckily. And Tina and I did make a film. She wrote a film for me based on an idea I had called Pudge, which was the only film chosen that year to play at TIFF out of the lab. So that was pretty special. And that film played all over the world and won a lot of awards. So I was very fortunate.
And what is the most rewarding part about your production company, The Heat Mansion?
Other than the title?
Yeah.
I love the title. And there's a whole story behind that. But I think what you really quickly realize in the business is that you have to create your own opportunities. And especially in this country, because it's a very small country, there's a very large amount of people. Every year, more and more people being pumped out for jobs that don't really exist. So the competition is pretty fierce. And even as a woman, you have to create your own opportunities. So I had a lot of ideas. I've always been a writer, and I had a writing partner for a long time. I like writing with other people, collaborating. So I formed the company. I've always sort of had my own company and worked through my own company as a director, but then, we started to really earnestly develop projects about 8 years ago. And so I own options on a number of books. I own a series of books, best-selling books called Murder in Muskoka, the Murdoch Mysteries, and not that one, the other one. And we're developing them into a TV series right now. And I'm just about to option another novel that I want to turn into a movie. And then we have a number of feature projects and other television projects that I've created. I'm creating a comedy series right now for Nikki Payne, who's also Canadian Comedy Person of the Year 2012. So lots of projects on the go.
And you also worked with Nikki for this year's TIFF's Pitch This with the WBI. What was it like doing that experience?
Well, the WBI started off as an idea that I had almost 10 years ago. And it was actually an idea for a real company. And nobody at that time, the internet was really sort of like, the startup thing was sort of really new and everything else. And it sort of went away. And then I was out with I started to sort of hang out with a bunch of comedy women. And I had met Nikki and we'd become sort of friends. And, I was always a huge fan of hers. And Daniela Sayoni, who runs West End Girls. And I said, hey, I got this idea. And, I sort of pitched it to them. And I kind of chose the people that I thought were really funny and really different. And so that I would sort of make a writing room of these really creative women, and we would come together and come up with this idea together. Although I own the idea, my company owns the idea. They are the creators of the the concept, and everybody loved it. And it just sort of rollerballed from there. I mean, we were only into it for 6 months when we got chosen for Pitch This, so we knew we were onto a good idea. And right now we're in the writing room. Daniela and I are actually writing the script, and then the girls are going to come back in for punch up later on. And so we've been 2 weeks into the writing room, which is about 10 hours a day. And so it's going really well. It's a lot of fun. It's going to be pretty outrageous.
Awesome. And what advice would you give to someone who's aspiring to get into the film business, and maybe more specifically a female who's aspiring to get into the film business?
Well, I think you have to know, like anything else, what kind of a fan you're walking into and how to pick up the pieces. And right now is not a good time for women. And don't let anybody tell you that it is. As a matter of fact, the stats have gone down. There was just a big article in the Hollywood Reporter about this, that it's 1% of all entertainment content in the world, but mostly in North America, is directed by women. Now think about that. 51% of the population, predominantly the women that choose which movies to go to on date night, which movies to go to with their families, which movie to go with their girlfriends, etc. It's a huge population, it's a huge portion of the population, and obviously it's a voice that is being underrepresented. So the stats have actually gone down in the last 5 years. So it's a very challenging time for women. I always say to people, listen, you don't get into this business because you want to make money. You don't get into this business because you want to have stability. You get into this business because it's the only thing that gives you joy, and even when it's frustrating, it still is the only thing you want to do. And that's why you got to be in the business.
Okay. And you also brought me these delicious cookies.
I did.
Tell me a little bit about them.
Well, I'm very fortunate. My writing partner, Daniela Sayoni's boyfriend, his name is Sean Scott, and he used to be a sort of like 2-time trial Canadian champ. He's like a big biker, like, racing biker, and all kind of, he's an athlete and everything else, but he loves to bake. He loves to bake. So that's what gives him joy. So he formed this cookie company called Mon Tucky Cookies, and they're on the internet, and they make like an all-natural sort of cookie, and every cookie has like these really incredible stories behind it. They have band camp cookies and like cinnamon toast cookies and all kinds of things. It's really fun to sort of read them, but on top of that, they're really super delicious, and they're all natural.
And where is the best place to find out more information on you and your projects and these cookies online?
Well, I think that we're right in the middle of building the website for AnnieBradley.com, so it should be up by the end of the year in all its glory. And also you can go to www.thewbi.com. We have a website up there that we'll be updating as the process goes along. And I think Mon Tucky Cookies is on the internet as well. And I'm not sure of the exact spelling. What is it? MONTUCKY cookies.com. I think that's it. Mon Tucky, like Montana, which is where Sean used to live.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Congratulations on all of your success, and best of luck with all of your upcoming projects.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on your new home.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm Katie Allman reporting for Katie Chats here at Smithy TV in downtown Toronto.